Hey, greetings everyone from our home to yours. I hope that this finds you safe and well. Happy Sunday. Today, our scripture passages come from Mark chapter 31. And I just want to focus on that one verse, but the whole context is important. And the context for this passage is that Jesus has sent out his 12 disciples. They've gone out, done ministry, did great and wonderful things. And when they returned, they now, as the apostles, gathered around Jesus and reported to him what they had done and what they had taught. Then Jesus said to them, "Come away by yourselves to a remote place and rest for a while." Mark goes on to say that there were many people coming and going, and they, so much so that the apostles, had no time to eat. And what Jesus was trying to do was to get the apostles to rest. They'd been doing a lot of good stuff, a lot of ministry, traveling, and they still had a lot of ministry to do, hence a lot of people coming and going. But Jesus wanted them to get some time alone and rest. Counter to the culture that we live in today, which is grind, 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 make money, 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 money. God knows that rest is important, and he even made it a commandment that says, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Now, the Sabbath, which means rest day, was prescribed as a day of rest, and it was commanded so that we could stay healthy spiritually, mentally, and physically. It was a time where literally there was to be no creation, but no work. And the no creation came from when God stopped and rest when he saw that all was good. So the idea is that we are free from creation, we are free from work, and it is a time where we rest. If you are in ministry or academia, you're probably very familiar with the term sabbatical. If you're not clergy or ministry or a pastor, you may have been in a church where your pastor went on a sabbatical. Or if you were a student in university or college, your professors talked about being on a sabbatical. And the idea of a sabbatical is that it's a period of time when you rest, you recharge, you stop teaching, you stop preaching, you stop doing ministry, and you rest. Yes, you can take that time to learn, to focus on academic pursuit or to prepare for something else. But it's a time really where you're designed to get away from people and focus on recharging and resting. Now, for a lot of people who do, I guess, for lack of a better term, regular jobs, pastors that are working other jobs or what we call bivocational, probably cannot get enough time off, unfortunately, to afford to take a sabbatical, or their work situation is not set up for them to take a sabbatical, because sabbaticals are usually a couple of weeks to a month or more, and they just don't have the opportunity. And so that makes it even more important to find ways and time to retreat, rest, recharge, and reset. And Jesus knew that what the apostles needed was to rest, reset, and recharge their batteries for ministry. He could probably see it in their faces. They had just traveled and went out and faced a lot of things, healed a lot of people, cast out a lot of demons. And he could see that they were getting exhausted, or what we would call burnt out. And burnout is one of the worst things in ministry. It happens to so many folks. They burn out and they want to quit. The phenomenon of pastors getting burnt out, it usually takes full effect on the Monday after church, and it is the hardest time for ministers and pastors. And then combine that with burnout, it can set you up for disaster. And so many people walk away from the ministry just because of our grind, 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 work, work, work mentality, that there is no harmony in our lives. The problem with not getting rest and not recharging is that burnout can hurt our body, it can hurt our mind, and it can hurt our spirit. We can get worn out, and when we get worn out, what happens is that we walk that tightrope, and then our emotions start running wild, and that's where you see people coming over the top and fuming and yelling and losing their temper and throwing tantrums because they're not getting enough rest to balance and be able to harmonize their emotions and keep their emotions in check. So their emotions run wild, and it causes problems. And then what happens is that with no rest, is that we can get to a point where we can't resist temptations anymore. The temptation to take that drink to rest, or that temptation, other temptations that might happen. When we are burnout and when our battery is drained, we're more tempted, we're more likely not to be able to say no. And that's what happens to a lot of pastors. It's where we can start sinning because our filters are gone, our abilities to say no are gone. And that's a dangerous place to be. Remember, Mark said that there were people coming and going, and he records that the apostles didn't get away fast enough because the crowd stopped them. And then we get the story of them feeding the 5,000. So they didn't do it fast enough. They didn't get away fast enough. And I wonder, the story, the miracle of feeding the 5,000 is very important, but I wonder if the comments that the apostles and the disciples make later on, and Jesus having to tell them, you feed them, happened because they were exhausted in ministry. And the point that I'm trying to make there is people are always coming and going. There will be people who will always need ministry. There's always one more hospital visit. There's always one more funeral. There's always one more wedding. There's always one more counseling session. There's always one more where people need you and need your ministry. And we want to do that ministry. We are driven to do that ministry. But the warning that Jesus is giving, the warning that we have from this passage, is that we have to get alone. So retreat, charge, reset, relax, rest, or whatever cool word you want to throw in there. So my challenge to you is to do ministry, but it's better when you can get away and get some rest. Even if it's just for a day where you turn off the phones, turn off social media, spend time with the family, throw the football, eat a hot dog, watch sports, whatever, where you don't have to do the ministry. And you can get some rest. So may you go this week and rest. Grace and peace to you. God bless you. Have a great week.